Hi, this is Dr. Nemechek of the Nemechek Protocol. I want to talk to you now about how the autonomic nervous system controls emotions. All right. And your autonomic nervous system, really, in essence, is a mechanism that will protect a primitive hunter gatherer, Stone Age human, whatever term you want to use, from the threats of life. Now, those people face heat, cold, so it's going to help the autonomics help regulate things like that. But there are these threats that are imminent. They could be a wild animal, it could be another tribe of people, and they might be threatening. And the autonomics help you kind of assess the threat and match your emotions to that. All right? The greater the threat, the more emotions. Intense threat, fight or flight. Okay? And so you have this kind of escalation and de-escalation of your emotional kind of timber that a lot of us think we're doing on our own, but it's actually driven by the autonomic nervous system. Now, take an example of threat assessment. I use driving in an automobile. You're on a country road. You can see the road ahead of you. There's nobody around. You're very relaxed. You got your arm out the window, one hand on the wheel. You're driving. You're driving along, and so you have this fairly low threat assessment. Now you drive into the city. Now you're on a larger highway, and there's more traffic. So now you're more careful. You're kind of sitting up. You got both hands on the wheel. You're watching out for everybody. Not bad, but the threat assessment is higher. Now you're in heavy traffic. Some people are driving foolishly. They're pulling in front. They're hitting their brakes. They're doing things. You have a very high threat assessment to protect yourself. All right? So you have this escalation up and down. Now, what happens if that breaks? Well, we have some people that cannot even get on the highway here. They may live an hour away from my office by highway, but they have to take the city streets to get here, and it might take them 3 hours. Okay? And they just can't even start to increase their threat assessment. All right? And then we have other people that when they're in heavy traffic and somebody pulls in front of them and pumps the brake, they get road rage. Their threat assessment super escalates over the reality of the situation. All right? Both of these are forms of autonomic damage that can be recovered and repaired. And so you see this a lot in adults, it's quite frequent. And you see this in children, all right? And you see this a lot in autistic children. So you take that scenario where give me the iPad, or you have to share with your sibling, and there should be some annoyance, maybe a little pouting. But what happens is you get a major response. Biting, hitting, violent, like a big fight or flight response for this little thing that happened. And that's what you're seeing. You're seeing breakage in the way the autonomics can regulate the emotionality. All right. Some kids can't escalate it. So what do? They're afraid of everybody. They want to just stay at home or in their room. They don't want no strangers in the house. They can't stand the dog. They don't like the sibling. Everything's just kind of too much, and they can't raise that. But as both adults and kids start to recover, you find the kind of threat response is more and more managing or matching what the real scenario calls for. And so these big swings that you get up and down, what you'll start seeing over time, so those big swings start getting narrower and narrower and start matching really, you got to share your iPad, and now you just get some annoyance or pouting, and then that's it. All right? So it's a very common thing. It's recoverable with the protocol. And just to help you know what the heck's going on when you're seeing that both in maybe your spouse or your kid. All right. This is Dr. Patrick Nemechek, Buckeye, Arizona. Have a great day.